Some of us have an excuse for everything, an excuse for why we have not started, an excuse for why we quit, an excuse for why we are stuck, an excuse for why our life or our situation never changes. At some point, we have to ask ourselves a difficult question. Are these excuses protecting us from failure, or are they protecting us from growth? I think one of the hardest truths is to accept that excuses are often easier to live with than responsibility. Because responsibility forces us to look in the mirror. Responsibility forces us to be honest. Responsibility forces us to admit that maybe some of the things we are blaming on life are actually choices we are making every day. And that is uncomfortable. It's more easier to point at circumstances, it's much easier to point at bad luck, it's more easier to point at other people, it's more easier to point at the economy, our past, our environment, or our limitations. Now, don't misunderstand me. Some people face genuine challenges. Some people start with disadvantages. Okay? Some people have obstacles that are very real. Okay? This is not about pretending life is fair. No, it's not it. It is about recognizing that excuses rarely improve our situation. No matter how valid they may seem, all right? I've noticed that excuses often sound reasonable. That is why they are so dangerous. I will start when I have more time. I'll start when I have more money. I'll start when I feel more confident. Some say I'll start when the timing is better. I'll start when everything is ready. The problem is that life rarely comes or becomes perfect enough for those excuses to disappear. There's always another reason to wait, another reason to delay, another reason to stay where we are. And before we know it, years have passed. Not because we lack potential, but because we kept postponing action. I think one of the biggest differences between people who grow and people who stay stuck is not talent. It is not intelligence. It is not luck. It is not accountability. Sorry, I would say it's accountability. Successful people make excuses too. Disciplined people make excuses too. Motivated people make excuses too. The difference is that they don't allow those excuses to make their decisions for them. They take action even when it's inconvenient, even when they are tired, even when they are uncertain, even when conditions are not perfect. This message is for me too, because let me say, I make excuses. Okay. I've told myself I needed more time. I've told myself I wasn't ready. I've told myself I did start tomorrow. I've blamed circumstances. I've blamed timing. I've blamed things outside my control. And sometimes those reasons felt completely justified. But looking back, I have realized something. Most of the growth in our life happened when we stop waiting for perfect conditions. The confidence came after we started. The clarity came after we, started. The experience came after we've started. The improvement came after we've started. Not before. Okay? And that is the part many people miss. We are waiting to become confident before taking action. We are waiting to become motivated before taking action. We are waiting to become ready before taking action. But action is often what creates those things, not the other way around. Okay? Another thing you know, I've learned is that excuses have a hidden cost. Every excuse costs something. It may cost an opportunity, it may cost a relationship, it may cost a skill you never developed, it may cost a dream you never pursued, it may cost years you will never get back. And because those costs are always, or let me say, are not always visible immediately, people underestimate them. A person will say, I will do it later. Then later becomes next month. Next month becomes next year. And next year becomes a lifetime of wondering what could have happened if they had simply started. The scary thing about excuses is that they don't feel dangerous. They feel comfortable. They allow us to avoid discomfort, avoid risk, avoid failure, avoid rejection, avoid responsibility. But they also cause us to avoid growth because growth usually requires doing things we don't feel like doing. Growth requires effort, growth requires discomfort, growth requires honesty, and excuses are designed to help us escape all three. I've realized that progress often begins when excuses end. Not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because we stop giving our power away. We stop saying, I can't, and start asking, what can I do with what I have right now? That's a powerful shift because it moves us from victimhood to responsibility, from waiting to acting, from wishing to doing. Maybe that is why some people transform their lives while others remain stuck in the same pattern for years. It's not because one group has fewer problems, but it is because one group decides that their excuses will no longer be in charge. And once that decision is made, everything begins to change. Not overnight, not instantly, but gradually. One action at a time, one decision at a time, one excuse at a time. Your excuses may explain why you are where you are, but they won't help you get where you want to go.